All right, so it's a lovely Wednesday, and we are back right here on your favorite channel. This is Ubuntu Channel Zambia, and we are back with your favorite program. As you know, every Wednesday we get to bring to you this exciting program, and also get to bring to you different exciting guests that we get to talk to on different topics and discussing different things and different issues that are of benefit to the nation and those that affect the general citizenry. I am your host, Lance Sanibanda, and of course, this evening I am glad to bring back and play host to Education Hope Foundation Executive Director, Mr. Charles Mubambe. Mr. Mubambe, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Lance. I'm really appreciating this moment that you've given me just to have a chat and understand what we can look at in the education sector going forward.
Definitely. And of course, to you, our dear viewers, remember that you will be getting in touch with us shortly as we'll share with you the studio link where you can join us live into the studio and get to chat with us, get to ask a question, express yourself, and also your comment on the topic of discussion that we are looking at this particular evening. And of course, this evening we are looking at, do you think that Zambia needs education reforms? Does Zambia need education reforms? But obviously, before we get to answer that question and delve into details in that particular topic, let's get to do a recap. This is not the first time that we are playing host to Mr. Charles Mubambe. This is actually his second, if not third time on this particular program. Let's just get to do a recap of what Education Hope Foundation is all about. Mr. Mubambe, we have a viewer or viewers that have joined us for the first time. Remember, this is the new year. Before I even forget, Happy New Year to you.
Hap-
And
Happy
yeah,
New Year to you too
yes,
as well. You almost forgot
thank you
about
so.
me.
Well, we're keeping you for the new year, second Wednesday of the month or of the
Sure.
year.
Sure.
All right, so let's get to remind our viewers out there and new viewers. Let's have them know what Education Hope Foundation is all about.
Educational Foundation was formed in 2019, registered with the Community of Development. We have all the mandates to operate as an NGO, but our mandate is to operate in uh, education with regards to correction. So we've made ourselves to be the backbone of education in correctional facilities, but we have another sector where we deal with the public schools, but our main backbone is correctional education. And just to take the viewers aback, sometime in 2021, we made some donations at Nakambala Approved School, which is a child's detention center for those juveniles that have offended the law. And then we also made, in 2022, we made some donations, about 30 desks that we delivered at Insakwi Approved School, a female juveniles for these children that offend the law. So really, we've just taken to say, okay, this is a space that has been forgotten by many masses. You see, when we talk about education, education is supposed to be collective. It's supposed to be inclusive. So we as a team, we thought, okay, I think when we focus on public, which it already has a very wide attention and interest. So we said, okay, let's go for the forgotten population, which is correctional education in correctional facilities. So we are underway, having the MOU signed by Zambia Correctional Service, and we've been waiting for that MOU to materialize so that finally we can take 1,000 scholarships to these forgotten populations. So in a nutshell, Educational Foundation is there to support education in Zambia. This education is okay, of course, it's general, but our main focus being correctional education in correctional facilities. So maybe someone might ask to say, what is correctional education? Correctional education is any form of education that is delivered in correctional facilities. Remember the word correctional facility, correctional service, correctional, whatever correctional is coming from the word, the reforms actually are coming from prison. So now they changed the name to correction because they didn't want to associate it to prison, which is a place of torment, a place of torture. So they said, okay, if someone goes into prison and then they are tortured and tormented, they'll come back 100 times bitter. So the best is to correct their behavior and attitude. So hence the word correctional. And if you, I think it's also an offense to call a prisoner or a convict to say a prisoner. They are supposed to be called inmates. So that's our main focus, correction education. We can't use prison, Mr. Lance. We can only use inmates. So um, we know that the population goes nearly to 30,000 in Zambia. And then we know that the community usually they perceive that kind of education as a cost. But look at this: if education in correctional facilities is not taken care of, how will they be proper reforms for someone to move out of the correctional facility reform? It means that there won't be any public safety. So we have to look at public safety as well. We have to look at how our lives will be if these people they are supported. These people their lives are changed. So hence our support. And also don't forget that in the Bible Jesus said, "You never visited me." I think all of us we know that scripture. So we thought, okay, let's come up with this angel that only speaks about education, because we're very passionate to see the masses getting educated. We have already an MOU with Supershine University, where we have partnered to help the less privileged to um, to go forward into their education, because as you know, the fees for education nowadays are just being increased every year.
Yes.
So if you have partners like Supershine University, they come up with a very good package, and then we partner. I mean, it's a good initiative. So we've been helping some of these less privileged, connecting them, taking them to Supershine University, making sure that those scholarships are well taken care of. So um, if you were to take education away from us, Mr. Lance, then you have just completely destroyed us.
Yes, yes. All right. Now, looking at a very comprehensive background that you've given about education, Hope Foundation, as well as the projects that you had undertaken, dating as far back as 2021, moving on even up to now. When I know that 2024, you obviously have targets that you have set for to reach for 2024. Let me
Definitely.
let me bring you back to 2021. When this new government, or when this new party entered into power and formed government, the UPND, they pronounced free education for all. And obviously, you've rightly put it that when we speak of education, we only think of those that are free, those that are not incarcerated, those that are not in correctional facilities. But then government made this pronouncement of free education for all. As a foundation or as an organization, how did you take a look at it in ensuring or seeing to it that even a juvenile, a child, an adolescent, an adult who is in these correctional facilities also had a chance or be given a chance to attend or acquire this free education that the government had pronounced back then?
You see, sometimes when something good has been created, I think as a mass, we need to appreciate. If you look at the
Mhm,
good gesture of free education, I think this hasn't been done in a long time. We can only
mhm,
remember this being done during the time of, may he so rest in peace, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. So we don't want to sound political, but we will appreciate government's effort for bringing up that free education policy, because
mhm,
without that policy, many children will not be in class right now. As you know, there's
mhm,
overcrowding, but um, sometimes they say too much quantity is not good, because you have to look at quality, and quality usually has to be deal with a small number. But I think
mhm,
for me, I feel whether quantity is high or not, what is important is a child is in class and they're able to attend to the lessons that have been given, because that way we are going to have an educated Zambia, an educated future,
mhm,
a future that everyone will appreciate. If you are going to have illiterate citizens, then how are we going to have informed citizens? So
mhm,
basically, we were very excited by the news, and then we raised the
mhm,
issue to do with education levy.
mhm,
Myself and Dr. Aaron Chaza, the executive director of NACES. I
mhm,
remember we were the two major voices when it comes to championing education levy, to campaign so that they can be education levy. But I think along the way we lost touch with that. But again, we are saying
mhm,
if they can be education levy, it's going to be a good thing, because free education has brought in quantity. So now, how are we going to bring
mhm,
in quality? The only way we can bring in quality is when we incorporate free education with education levy. Believe you me, if
mhm,
you can have a TV levy where everyone is paying to watch TV,
mhm,
definitely we as a citizen, we can contribute to government's effort by taking interest to pay a small token towards education through education levy. That is the only
mhm,
way I think we are going to deal with a more stable budget, because the national budget, educational allocation, it has to be constant and stable. But if
mhm,
you look at the way it is, the percentage allocation to it, because of many other allocations, it's been given that minimal allocation. If if we say that we increase, it means other works will not be done. So what do you do? Do you just sit and watch that? Okay, free education is happening, so we will not move forward. No, you bring in initiatives like education levy. We know
mhm,
things are difficult, but when it comes to knowledge, information is power, because it opens doors. Education
mhm,
is a driving force, a catalyst that others use to gain wealth. They use to expand their horizon. So, if we are looking at that Zambia that we perceive that it shall be, I think it starts with the foundation which the UPND government brought into effect by
mhm,
introducing education levy. So for us, we were excited, but the thing is, operational costs for schools now have gone up. It's very difficult for the managers of schools now to manage, because um, if you bring in free education, and then how are you going to increase the revenue to support the grants, to support administrative fees, to support many other activities? So we have to look at the most sustainable, more stable, uh, precise, where you are very sure that out of this, um, whether we like it or not, we are going to have funds coming in. We are not going to have a more unstable allocation. Like, you don't know what will happen this year, what will be the announcement this year. But when we put that into effect, the the free education policy that is in effect right now will be rightly supported.
Mm. All right. Now, I would like us to dwell more on education in correctional facilities, because this is
Mm,
your priority center in as an organization.
exactly.
They are children that are incarcerated or that are in holding, in these children holding centers or children correctional facilities that would also want to have access to education. They would love to attend this same free education that the new government has introduced or that they have pronounced for the Zambian citizenry. What kind of advocacy as an organization have you put across, or what kind of, would I say, suggestions have you brought to government to see to it that this free education is extended also to young children that are in these correctional facilities?
By the way, Lance, education in uh, approved schools,
Mhm.
it's already there. They
Okay.
are enjoying the education that actually, the education that they experience is even more advanced than those that are in public schools.
Mm, mm. All
Very
right.
advanced. So very advanced. The education that is there is incorporated with so many other things. Like I mentioned, correctional education is any form of activity that is carried on or carried in correctional facilities. We have vocational education, we have skills education, we have literacy, academic, we have psychosocial counseling, um,
Mm,
soft skills. There are so many kind of educational programs that these approved schools are experiencing. Take for instance, Nakambala approved school. Nakambala approved school has got the facilities. I think it should be a model that the government must use to any other school, because when you go there, Lance, you'll be very amazed. They have a fish pond, they have a farm piggery, they have poultry, they have um, they have a garden, they have a football pitch, they have a
mhm,
game center, they have ICT. They have so many programs that are they are offering to these children who've offended the law. So you
mm.
see that the education that others are experiencing, they are also experiencing it, but with difficulties. Difficulties in
Okay.
regards to resources. The resources
Mm,
that are allocated to this sector is not necessarily meant for education, but it's meant for sustenance. So it's very difficult for that education to be nourished, because they have to they have to experience it in a very difficult condition. So we have organizations that come on board, Educational Foundation, there's DAP, there's European Union. There are so many organizations supporting that, but I think the major support must come from the community, from the mass. Once all citizens embrace this, you see that many children who are taken there um, are taken uh, good care of, because
mm,
that place is not only for those that have offended, or even
mhm,
Lance, if you have a child and then they are giving you problems in the house, they are giving all this community terror or whatever, you can take them there to say, oh, please, government, help me straighten up my child. I've tried all I can, but I can't seem to succeed. So please have custody of my child. When he's okay, I'll come and
come
get him.
back.
You can call me to come and get. So there's that um, There's that kind of education that is being offered in approved schools.
All right. Now that you've mentioned it, maybe bring us to speed in terms of, how well stocked are the libraries?
This is a
Children
nice
and
question. Yeah.
people in correctional facilities that are attending this education, are their libraries well stocked? And do they have the right and correct learning materials?
Um, well, when it comes to resources, equipment, um, library, they are not well stocked because even at Nakambala Approved School, the school that I'm highly praising right now, when it comes to stocking up of books, it's not up to standards. Some of the books are not there, study material, teacher resource, learner resource, and also ICT. They have the equipment, but they don't have internet. So there are all those difficulties that they are experiencing. When we say quality education, what we mean by quality education is someone learning in a conducive environment where everything is provided for so that their learning becomes more easier. So learning will not be easier when there are all these other difficulties. Learning in difficulty cannot make someone to be to concentrate. Others, what disturbs a child might be something small as maybe sitting on the ground, learning, or maybe there are no study materials. These things, they will just discourage them from moving forward. Maybe there are no exercise books. They'll be discouraged to say, okay, maybe some other people do not care about us. So what keeps them going, I'm sure, as you know, are organizations like ourselves and many other organizations that have come on board or that have been there even before Educational Foundation was formed, that are supporting them.
All right. Our dear viewers, remember that you are watching Meet Your Leaders on Ubuntu channel. This is a program that comes your way every Wednesday as we get to bring you different guests discussing different topics as well as different things that affect you, our dear viewer, as well as that affect each and every citizen in the country. And this evening, we are discussing education reforms. Do you think that Zambia needs education reforms? My guest this evening is Charles Mubambe, who is Education Hope Foundation Executive Director. And of course, shortly we'll be sharing with you the link that you can use to join us into the studio. Apologies, today we are unable to put the phone number for you to call us or send through those messages. This is due to circumstances beyond our control, but we'll be glad to still hear from you. As those of you watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, you can still leave a comment and we'll be able to read from it and get to also read your comment, read your input, as well as your question. Now, Mr. Mumambe, quickly, let's get to 2024. You have goals that you have put as an organization, as well as programs that you would love to do for the learners that are in correctional facilities. Kindly take us through what you have for these learners and what you
Right.
hope to achieve for 2024, also in making sure that the education sector in these facilities is improved, also gets to be on a better learning field or ground.
Well, there are so many uh, projects that we have identified. Remember when we mentioned that we donated desks at Insakwe approved school. So, we had the judge in charge of the whole Ndola. We had the DC, we had the PS in our presence the time that we were even doing the speeches and all that. We actually identified a challenge. One of the challenges that we identified at that school is that they don't have any classroom blocks and a workshop. So this year, with the help of our partners, we want to start building INSAP we approved school with a two classroom blocks and a workshop. So we have already worked through some documentation and a view of quantity, and all these other things are already in place. So very soon we'll start some works of building at the school. And also we need to make a further donation to Nakambala Approved School, a donation of 40 desks. That is some of the things that we identified there, though there are these other ones, but the major one are the desks. And then also we are in talks and want to partner with the Shine Zambia. Shine Zambia is like a community school, you know. It's a community school, and then it helps many children to get to school. They offer meals, they offer their library, they teach them, and then we were touched by what we saw. So we said, okay, I think we can come in and then assist to help them re-innovate the library, because the library is not even in good shape. So we thought of, okay, if we can have a modern facility in place, I think this will be very helpful for the learners to advance, because the library is like an engine. You know, of course you can go in the classroom, but the library is an engine that drives lessons. So we thought this is something that we can do. And also in regards to Shine Zambia, we partnered with the Devora Child Care Foundation, who will be offering them meals in terms of supporting them with mealie meal and food stuff. So we are hoping that can happen as soon as possible. And also we thought of doing a campaign. You know, as you know, Lance, we are going to drop a position paper to stipulate something about the education right. The education right in Zambia is not under the Bill of Rights. So that poses a challenge to the education sector, because if that is not part of the rights, then how are you going to hold government accountable? They can promise you heaven, but that heaven will not come if education is not a right in Zambia. So we thought, okay, let's first do formal approach.
All right.
Yes.
Now, let's start shifting our attention towards our topic of discussion. We know for a fact that over time, Zambia's education sector or education framework system has been that of more theory than practical. We've seen students or pupils getting to be doing over 8 subjects in secondary school, and then when you write your exam, obviously they're looking for only best 5 or best 6. Then somebody tends to wonder, why was I taking 10 subjects when only 5 or 6 matter when it comes to me making a certificate or a general certificate? Do you think that Zambia needs education reforms as a foundation? Do you think Zambia needs education reforms? If yes, what where should we shift in terms of these reforms? What kind of reforms do we need?
I think there have been some reforms last year. Where they brought in is it Form 1, Form 2, you know. So, but my main focus right now will be on the content of the subjects. Okay, so if you look at the reforms again, it is a good gesture from government, because they want to refine the
Mhm.
education that these children are having, they are getting. So
Mhm.
the the best that can be done is to look at the content of the subjects, where the history kind of education is changed. We want to
Mhm.
see the faces of great people, our own Zambian people. They are there in the history books, more of them.
Mhm.
We don't want to start reading about Bismarck, who never
Mhm.
even contributed to anything in Zambia. We don't want to hear
Mhm.
about Zinjanthropus, you know, anthrop. Who is that one? You know, so these
Yes.
are the these are the irrelevancy that are not adding any value. Mr. Lance, the time that I was working for a certain company, you'll be amazed that when we were conducting interviews, these grade
Mhm.
12 children, they have 6 points, 9 points, but they were failing. They
Mm.
couldn't express themselves. Others, they are good at talking, and then when you get them to work, they fail to work. Now, what is the
Mm.
problem? The problem is what they are taught. Others, they can't even write an application letter properly. So my emphasis to that is they should be um, reforms in terms of content as well. Content must
Mhm.
change, and subjects must be less. Um, Early childhood identification, or should I say specialization, should start.
Mhm.
If you if
Mm.
they if the teachers have seen that, oh, this child is more of a science child, give him a chance
Mhm.
to just go straight up with sciences. Two subjects, it's okay. If
Mm.
the other one, their main interest is sport, they can give them two subjects and then they're doing sport. Some of these things where you combine 10 subjects, 8 subjects, they just dilute to the content, dilute to what can help a child. That's why others are confused to the extent that
Mm.
when they are graduate as a grade 12 child, they are going to do so many programs in university. They will have
Mm.
these degrees. Somebody has a degree in law, he has a degree in business. Yeah, he has so many degrees because he doesn't know his identity. A child needs to
Mm.
be helped to know their identity so that their purpose shines better than themselves. So that their light shines, because you cannot excel where you don't know who you are, where you have not been given the light. So
Mhm.
really, it's very important that as children are growing up, they quickly specialize, and then they have few subjects, and then also the
Mm.
content. You know, the reforms can happen every 3 years, every 2 years. Doesn't matter. What matters is
Mm.
you tailor design that content according to your culture, according to your country. You tailor design it according to who you are as a country. You tailor design it um, in a way that the masses will accept. Because if you don't change some of these content, you don't update
Mm.
your content, then why should you even be interested in education? It's all in
Mm.
vain, because things are changing every day, every year. So things are changing every year, it's very, very much important that even the content of a subject is upgraded
Mhm.
by
Mm.
dropping off some of the things that are not important, things that don't
Now,
even speak to we should move away from a colonial kind of thinking, where you whatever that was left by the British, we just move with them as the
mm.
standard, as the thing that we need to 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 do. I think each time we start thinking of ourselves, we put ourselves, our own Zambian billionaires in entrepreneurship, with business study. We talk about our own lawyers, how they've handled their cases. It's very important that um, we Zambianize ourselves
All
for
right.
the future
Now,
generation, of course.
okay, that is great. Now, looking at the new education framework that you've talked about, obviously, quite a number of things have been included or have been considered. Though, correct me if I'm wrong, it's yet to be approved or it's under subject approval. There are certain components that have been put in there, especially on the skills development sector or part. Um, how do you think this will help in the development of the nation if skills development or if skills set training is done at an early stage, especially where we've seen that after writing grade 6 exams going into grade 7, somebody will be subjected into skills training of their choice. It may be bricklaying, plumbing, or any other skill set. How will that be beneficial in terms of helping the nation develop if a child gets to learn skills at an early
That's
age?
it's a very important question. Um, with the discussion we had just now into this discussion, I will tell you that when the content of the subjects is changed and the skills that they've brought in, it means that a child will be ready to work in society. You have children who are more entrepreneurial, children who are able to contribute to government's efforts by as they finish their grade 12, they can get into self-employment. They can get into it's easy to just do the skills because skill training, the way it is, look at plumbing, you can even open a company for it. As a grade 12 child, you are done with your school, and then you know how to do plumbing. You incorporate that with with what you know, and then you go around the homes just to advertise. You are going to have few business call out here there, and those will be very, very, very beneficial to the child, all because of the lessons that they were being given um, during the time they were in school. So skills training is very key because it will move our mind from the colonial thinking to say a white collar job is important than a skill. It's important than um, what is being given. Look, a skill is a survival tool. If you have a skill, then you survive the hardships, you survive whatever comes your way, because that way you are going to find something to do. Skills are sellable, you are able to sell them easily. But if you have your white collar degree, for you to be employed nowadays, it's very difficult because even the labor market is saturated. It's concentrated, you know, and that way it will be difficult even for others to be employed. But if you have a skill, it will be very, very easy for you to enter into society as a child and run with what you learned. And then you make resources out of the experience that you amassed.
How do you think this framework is going to work rather? Because let's take it for example, the conventional education that we have been having, just taking pure sciences has been very hard in this country, because you find that chemicals are not available for testing certain tests and stuff like that. And then here you bring a skills development subject where somebody obviously has to be more practical than theoretic. How should government go about this new framework, which how does government go about this new framework in seeing to it that it gets to work? Because technical schools have gone into hibernation. They don't have they lack equipments for pupils to undertake what they're supposed to undertake. They lack certain materials. Therefore, technical schools have gone into vocational. They are also traditional schools where they just offer all these ordinary subjects. Now that it's almost been reintroduced, how should government go about it in seeing to it that this becomes a success, and definitely skills training is a part of at least a number of schools, if not all public schools?
Skills training is key, and the only way that can be done is to increase the budget allocation first of all, because you need resources. Imagine if you want to have fish ponds at schools, they are going to build around the school, or they will find some space for it to be accommodated. Other schools probably they don't have a workshop. The workshop has to be built for them to do metal fab, to do carpentry, joinery, all these things need resources. So the first thing that needs to be done is to increase the budget allocation, or to introduce education levy. That way,
Hmm,
a lot of skills will be well taught. And also, it's just
hmm,
basically the issue to do with the mindset. I think as a country, the mindset should always be straight to say, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to support our education sector because we want our our citizens to be more informed. To
mhm,
be more informed, it means you are going to contribute to government in so many ways. So that's why you see this skill training is very important, because without skill training, um, it's very difficult for a child to survive in society. And if you look at the rate at which suicide rates are going, it's very alarming. And we just need to change the mindset. They should know that a skill is more attractive than a white collar job.
hmm. Now, this new framework, Mr. Mubambe, you agree with me that it requires a lot. Like you've said, budget allocation to the education sector has to go up because there's quite a lot or a number of things involved. This means that there's need for teacher retraining. You need to have special teachers for these same skills, to teach these skills, because you can't have an ordinary mathematics teacher to come and obviously teach carpentry and joinery, or to teach any other skills development subjects. Now, won't this somehow be a cost to both the teachers that would love to specialize in these skills training subjects, or to the government that would love to retrain these teachers so that they too can have a reformed mind in terms of teaching, these skill set to the intended pupils?
That is also one of those steps that are very important, because now the teachers have to redirect their attention. So indeed, the exercise itself, it's going to take up resources, because for it to take effect, when you have a program, you also have to look at the implementation tools. And it is those
Mm,
tools that will take us to where a teacher is supposed to be. And then you measure that with feedback to see if truly uh, what they put in place is being done, it's been carried up, or are there any changes in the countrywide because of the skills? Um,
Mhm.
so it's important that the teacher is well resourced, and I'm
Mhm.
sure, each time there's change to programs, I'm very
Mhm.
sure that there are resources that have been set aside so that this
Mhm.
program for for for, for, for reformations to that extent should be catered for.
Mhm. Mm. Okay. Quickly, let's come still under the same as we are still dissecting the topic and talking about this new education framework. Let's get to incorporate it with your specialty as a foundation, because you are looking at educating people that are in correctional facilities. I think along this program you had mentioned to say we have schools in these correctional facilities, special approved schools in these correctional facilities that have already entered or that have already started skills training and obviously vocational training. With this new framework, and then with all these challenges that we have in these schools that are approved for correctional facilities of not having certain things in place, as a foundation, what is your clarion call to the government in ensuring that the people in correctional facilities are not left behind in terms of skills training? Mr. Mubambe, are you here? All right. To you, our dear viewer, remember that this is Meet Your Leaders on Ubuntu channel, and this evening we are discussing education reforms. Do you think that Zambia as a country needs education reforms? And if you think so, what kind of reforms exactly do we need to introduce in the education sector? My guest this evening is Charles Mubambe, who is Education Hope Foundation Executive Director. So the link has been shared with you watching us on YouTube as well as Facebook. We'll be glad to hear from you. You can leave us a comment underneath this broadcast, as well as you can also click on the link that which we have shared for you to join us live into the studio, make your comment, make your contribution, as well as also let's get to hear from you what you think of our topic of discussion. Does Zambia need education reforms? I am your host, Lance Sani Banda, and of course, this is a show that comes your way every Wednesday from 20 to 21 hours. So only a few minutes to go. If you'd love to come in, you come in now, as time is of essence. Again, we apologize for not having the phone lines today for your text messages as well as for your phoning in. Welcome back, Mr. Mwambe. I was asking to say, as a foundation, um, that has donated many times and also is looking at the plight of people in correctional facilities, what are you doing to see to it, or what is your clarion call to the government to see to it that even learners in correctional facilities are not left behind in terms of these skills training subjects or development that are being introduced in the new education framework, should it get approved?
Mm, I think when it comes to skills training, actually, correctional facilities they are far much better than public schools because so many correctional facilities across Zambia they differ. Others they are into farming, but they have a component of general education. Others they are
Mhm.
much into maybe piggery, um, others. So it from one facility to the other, they experience a different kind of skill around them because of the environment, you know. So when it comes to skill training with the population that we deal with, skill training for them, it is number one. That is, it's a must they have to learn, because after that, as they reintegrate into society, they have to contribute to their communities, they have to contribute to government. So their education in terms of skill training, it is on point.
Now, speaking
Of
of
course, with
reintegration,
difficulties.
now, speaking of, we'll come to the difficulties. Speaking of reintegration into society or communities, as a foundation, how much sensitization have you done to the communities out there or to the society out there on how to receive and properly allow a former remandee or convict to reintegrate into the society? Because it's so hard that I'm coming out of a correctional facility and I have a skill
Mm,
set of a plumber. It's hard for somebody to employ me because of that record to say he's coming from a correctional facility. So at some point he might try to steal or whatever thought that may come to the society. How much sensitization are you doing to the society in helping, former correctional,
mm.
former remandees to be reintegrated into society?
Well, what we have done as a foundation since inception is to have our voice being heard, like the way we are doing on Ubuntu channel. We've done a number of media advocacy. We've done a lot of sensitization, awareness. It's very important that the community begin to look at customers as they look at clients in a different way, because if these people are going to reintegrate and then the community disconnect themselves from them, then the purpose of correction fails. The correction aspect can only be successful if the community are able to accept and embrace this population. And also, one of the things, like I mentioned in the position paper, what we have to put is the stigmatization that is already been done by the mother, who is the government. Because if government is saying that you should bring your fingerprints, that's when you get employed, then everyone else is doing the same. That now, what is the reason for correction? If when it comes to employment, I will go through a vigorous kind of screening for me to put something on the table. So it's very important that we get to understand that there are some things that we need to put in place, and also we get to understand that whoever is in their skill training should be championed, should be taken seriously, knowing very well that this is the way things are supposed to be done.
It's great that you have brought it up, because that was my next question to say. The mother, which is government, obviously, has that tendency of fingerprints. And then how do you expect a common person in the community help a former convict reintegrate in the community by giving them a job? Have you engaged government, in this to express your disappointment with government on this issue of fingerprints?
Like I made mention that this is something that we've drawn a position paper. A position paper is a paper that you advocate through formally before you engage Ubuntu channel. You have to first engage government to say, okay, how do we work on these things, because they are affecting the masses and they are affecting progress. they are affecting our way of being cost effective, you know. So we are we are drawing position papers which will go in different ministries, you know, because without a formal way of advocating for it, it's like you are hitting at the target in aimlessly, you know. You are not hitting the target, but you are just shooting around the target. So basically, that's what we were doing.
All right. We have a very interesting question coming through on our Facebook page. Director, if we can put it on the screen, I would love Mr. Mubambe to react on this. And then after that, obviously, we get your concluding remarks as well. Time is always too little when things are getting
Yeah,
better.
exactly. Exactly.
But directly, if we can display the question that has been asked on the page, if not so, I can still go ahead and obviously get to have a look at it. So it says, what is your comment on assertions that the skills that have been proposed in the reforms are meant to secure white collar jobs for the elite who take their children to private schools? This one is coming from Chibonta Julie. Thank you, Chibonta, for your question. Quickly, let's get to attend to that, and then
I think
we in remarks.
I think shooting down on the initiative that government has done is shooting yourself in the leg. It's like saying a white collar job is more important than a skill. So you want to stay out and then look for those jobs that you be the office instead of you being in the field or in the factory. You know, skills training is a survival tool. You can't do away without you just can't stop learning skills. The more you learn about skills, the better you become in life. And I think someone with a skill, they've got a better understanding of how life is and more chances of surviving on their own because they will know how to live with the um, resources that they have raised, how to basically expand their business because of the same skill. And then it is also going to help them to be self-employed because that way they will get self-employed and do better in life.
Your concluding remarks, Mr. Mwambi.
My concluding remarks is that I think I will say that let's all support education levy because this is the only way that we're going to look at this is the only way that we're going to appreciate and appreciate free education, you know, because all the resources that are going to come from there, they will be channeled to free education and the supporting factors. So without education levy, then it's still going to be very difficult for things to normalize.
Mr. Mwambe, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you. And please keep your doors open as we shall always knock on them more often to discuss correctional facility education.
Oh, thank you so much, Lance, for having me on your program, and I appreciate for this opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much. And to you, our viewers, we really appreciate you joining us this evening on Ubuntu channel, Meet Your Leaders program. We thank you and we salute you. And of course, until we meet again next Wednesday, we are saying bye bye. Have a great evening, and please make sure that you do not shake hands, as cholera is real. So let's definitely make sure that we keep our surrounding clean, and also drink warm water, warm your food. Do not eat your foods cold. Good evening and have a blessed one.